we're talking about the difference between real estate and businesses here somewhat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and so at least that's one nice thing about a business. Not, you don't, like an HVAC company, you don't have to worry about the tanks. But if it has a building along with it, then you have to factor that in. And I think Tanya, probably for good reason, doesn't do real estate. I do both. I do the real estate and the business, because in Washington, we're required to have commercial real estate licenses here. Well, EXP, but so we get involved in both. But
yeah, they go hand in hand with me. Now I heard one from an attorney maybe a year or so ago. He said if you've got a shop that may or may not be polluted, but not seriously, it doesn't have buried tanks. He says don't get yourself thrown in federal prison. He said one of the best things to do is incorporate and include the real estate as an asset of the corporation. Yeah. Then you sell the corporation and all of its assets, which includes the building. Doesn't require phase ones. I don't know how that's going to hold up in court, but it's an interesting concept. So,
well, I listen to people smarter than I am. I've always figured that's a better thing to do.
Well, I know a man, he was from Chicago, and we tease him all the time and said, is this a Chicago way of doing business? He was deliberately buying properties in Tucson, Arizona that he thought were polluted, garages, repair garages, not gas stations. And he said, the guy can't sell it. He wants to retire. I'll buy it from him. I want him to carry the note. So it's a win-win situation. I said, but sooner or later, it's got to be cleaned up. And he says, that's for my kids to worry about. There'll be a super fund. And he probably owns 20 properties around town here that way. So, boy. But he also didn't deal with any brokers. It was a private thing, Yeah.
Yeah, I think, we could talk about why some people are rich and some aren't.
Yeah. Of course, we being licensed, we'd be called on the carpet if we do something like that,
Well, wouldn't the disclosures, you'd see all the disclosures and a natural hazard disclosure, the environmental impact, they would see all of that as a buyer in the commercial and business zones. Don't you have that as well as, I do that in residential mostly, so. I just wonder what you've seen. What have you seen with the buyers? What have you seen? Like, have they objected to the environmental reports and said, okay, well, maybe the seller needs to clean this up before I purchase it, or are they just handling it on their own? What do you see most of the time?
The properties that I've sold with businesses, at times the seller would have to generate that report by going to a logistics company and have the phase one done. But I didn't normally advertise. I like that idea, Jim, that it, hit it head on, but I didn't advertise it until a buyer came along and wanted it.
Well, like the guy that was deliberately buying the ones that he suspected would fail a phase one. I've had buyers that they'll buy a business and a building, and they don't ask about the pollution. It looks clean to them. It's fine, and there's no law that says you have to have it. It's usually the bankers, the lenders that require it. It's usually the lenders. So if they're going to borrow the money from SBA or something, oh yeah. But if the owner's going to, the seller's going to carry it, not a problem,
Catherine, I think your question demands an answer. So all of us here have taken the test for our license. And in our state, I don't know what it is in other states, but our state, it's for housing, selling houses, basically. And not commercial. And I'm thinking to myself, boy, I'm glad I'm not selling houses. Because commercial, seems to have a little looser way of doing things than houses. Houses, I mean, it's got a lot of what you're talking about. I mean,
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, is it similar with residential where we have to have our NHD reports
you have
and,
everything dotted and crossed
yeah, yeah,
and
No, we can
underlined.
do it on a napkin.
wow.
Well, our broker here, we have one broker per state at EXP.
Right,
And she came from the residential area. She and her husband actually were developers. They built homes, and she got into the commercial. And she's very sharp. She's quick. She says, "Man, this is a loosey goosey deal here. You guys go to have lunch and shake hands, and it's a done deal." And
I guess I'm
and
surprised
commercial.
because,
When I went to school and studied this, it was caveat emptor, and that
Right.
buyer beware.
right.
And that's the way it is in commercial. Really, it is.
I think I'm in California, so I felt like
Maybe
maybe
tougher
our
there.
state has extra laws on that
That could
maybe
be.
you guys are in different states, so.
We're still in the Wild West in Arizona, But NAR, especially with this last lawsuit that they
Yeah.
lost, I guess, they are so protective of the consumer. It's just pathetic. I mean, it's just almost, a pendulum swings and it's still swinging that direction. So it'll come back a little.
Okay,
You could
thanks for
go
the
to-
info.